We are live. Hello, everyone. I like how as soon as I go live, Jason and I are talking back here, and I'm just like normal, and then I go live, and I'm like, "Well, hello, everyone." I just immediately get my game show voice going, and it's like the two sides of me. I don't know.
I'm the next contestant.
Our next contestant. I'm not wearing headphones, and Jason is. I don't know if this is going to be a problem. And my 4-year-old daughter currently is wearing my headphones and playing Frozen Minecraft with them.
So I thought you meant she could hear me, but you couldn't.
There is a
She's
chance
miming everything that I say to you.
If she switches the cord on it, or like the little like source for it, she will tap into this. So that is slightly terrifying.
Who is this boring guy? Get me back to my Frozen.
But so yeah, Jason and I, we're gonna build PreactFire. We're doing this in CSB, Code Sandbox, and I've done a little bit of homework beforehand. So we're gonna start out by doing a initializer. Now, Jason is very proficient. Would you say you're pretty good with Preact? Is that something you have any experience in?
I know my way around it, we'll say.
Okay, you've like been through the docs before.
Yeah, I've skimmed.
Skimmed, yeah, just light reading. So, and I too, I've used Firebase a handful of times. So I feel like this might be just fun for us to do. All right, so here we are in this thing. So where would you agree, or if not, I'm interested to hear you say that a provider is a good way to initialize a Firebase app. And how familiar are you with a Firebase app?
I mean, I'm minimally familiar, actually. And all jesting aside, I think I've mostly used it based on your demos. So whatever bias you have, I have inherited. But also, I don't have like a super proficient understanding of like Firebase's whole API service and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's a large surface, so there's new stuff that's being added to every day. Usually, I'll get a pull request from someone in like an open source library, and they're like, "Add the blah 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 operator," or like add the ability to do this, and I was like, "We can do that," just because a lot happens. And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." I was planning on it. It's a private branch. Yeah.
Which is code word for I've never seen this before in my life. Alarm bell going off in my head.
I was gonna do this, but if you want to do it, because you got to help out the community, right? Since I'm the big expert in this feature.
I will happily review this code.
I will review it and learn about it as I do that. So actually in PreactFire, this is how we're doing it. So it'd be interesting. So basically the way Firebase works is that you have like a whole, set of services like auth, database, and whatnot. And these systems share a lot of like initialization code, how to talk to the backend code. So we have this construct of an app. And the app is sort of this container that holds on to all of the services, and it can share like your authentication ID across things. So they all know those things exist. We have this concept of thing called installation. So you can send anonymous like perf metric data and stuff like that to the when you use performance monitoring. So all these so an installation allows us to know like, hey, like this is being properly sent and everything, and so all that has to be shared. So you start by creating an app. And so the way we do it in PreactFire is we create a PreactFire is we create a Firebase app provider, and that pretty much is your provider code. And then down the line, we have hooks where you can say like, use this thing. And it can just be like, it's not actually using data quite yet, but you could just create like a reference to a spot in the database to read data. And you can say, use whatever. And then that just spits it out. And you don't have to worry about carrying the app around.
Right.
So that sounds sane.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds sane. Is the difference between an app and I think you call it an instance, is that something that like the individual app has to care about, or is that like I have an app called weather and then I have like weather web and weather iOS and whatever?
Oh, okay, yeah. So there's like project, and then there's app, and then there's and so apps are, I don't want to get totally into that because it also sometimes confuses me. But project is like your big container of all your resources, and apps are sort of like the subdivider of these things. And so you can have different analytics, and like you tend to want to have one project per like idea of an app.
Right.
Of like, so one project per your actual project. So like if you create a food delivery service, you will have one project that shares resources across that whole food delivery service. You wouldn't create like multiple projects per Android, iOS, web, whatever. But you would create a web app, an iOS app. And then the app inside of your project is sort of, inside of your actual like coding project, is the manifestation of that.
Gotcha.
And so that's that. So
it's totally then fine to like you were saying, to like instantiate apps somewhere and put it in context, and then within the scope of your application, you should all be able to look at that one reference. That should be sort of like okay to be a singleton.
Yes.
Okay.
So Luke Edwards is in the chat. Hey Luke. And Jeff Hewlett, who is the PreactFire, he's the passionate, got that one off the ground. Pretty much everything I've learned and unlearned about suspense and hooks is pretty much all from Jeff. Every week I message him and I'm like, hey Jeff, how does suspense work again? And he's just like, and he gives this really great idea. He's like, okay, think about it this way. And I'm always like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then I finish the feature, and then next week I'm like, hey Jeff, what was that thing you said about suspense?
Yeah, we all have that person.
All right, so here. Oh wait, I gotta show the screen. Let me. Is this how I do it? This is how I
see your screen.
All right, that was. I almost could have put a '90s hip hop.
This is how I do it.
All right.
Now we're gonna get DMC takedown.
I know. I think you have like 5 seconds or 3 seconds.
Or is that a run DMC takedown?
Okay, now it's happening.
Yeah, now we're definitely. Now we're getting taken down, not for copyright, just because.
Yeah, they're like, please never do that again.
Offensive content. Yeah. You're violating the goodness.
All right, let's see. I have actually never used Code Sandbox before. Oh, there's develop it.
Ever?
Never.
Oh. I've never used the live collaboration feature.
I take that back. Where can I say? This is like inviting like somebody who has like no idea. They're like writing their term paper in here. They're like, so therefore that is why bears are important.
What happens if I paste the entire script for B movie in here?
Everyone's like, are they gonna write code?
No, that's definitely not.
Is that what you all came here for? All right,
so they know better.
Firebase, the way we have this currently packaged is we have, you should never, unless you're just like YOLO lazy, import Firebase from Firebase, because that's not, that's literally like all of Firebase. And we would like to not have that be the default, but due to legacy reasons, we have that, we would break a lot of people who currently do this or rely on this way. So we've created these sub packages. That's something in the future we want to make better. Oh wait, I need to actually install.
Yeah, you can install that.
I can install it. Let's see here, Firebase.
The Firebase.
Wait, okay, there it is.
All right, not Firebase. That's a different package.
Not Firebase.
It's all about evergreen trees.
And I love the little cube.
Somebody spotted my hack. The gist is just a package. Let me see if I can actually pull this up. It is literally a package that just does module.exports equals require preact /compat. So it just does module.exports equals require preact.
Great question.
I am doing this because the Code Sandbox template is built for Preact 8, which used preact-compat, and we haven't fixed it yet. So we install a shim module.
I don't know. Let's see here. I'm refreshing this because it's having some problems, but now it says no problems. I think
If it's a oh, did yours? Mine's still doing the square.
I think I was trying to import it. Yeah, I think it was a bit of a bootstrapping problem. It's like, hey, can you give me Firebase? And it's like, I can't give you Firebase because I don't know what Firebase is yet. And so
it's also possible, like Firebase is a large download, if I recall, right? Like the actual full package of all the stuff.
Well, yeah, if you take, yeah, because you're installing 2 databases and several other services, you would never do that. Like a lot of times in programming, you always say like, "Oh, I wouldn't say never." That's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know. I'm pretty comfortable saying never in that in that world.
I'm thinking what this is. We'll see if it works now. My screen looks like yours. Code Sandbox does all the bundling on the client, and because there's so much other stuff in the Firebase package, despite not using it, it's going to be downloading all those megabytes of things.
I guess we should take some time to talk about the project. So this Firebase project is called WeatherFire, and it's not real weather at all, but it is a live updating list of cities in Firestore. So BER is Berlin, and then the temperature is in Celsius because I think it's fun to use metrics I don't understand. And
I can translate for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you're the only reason why you're here.
Yeah.
So this is cool though, because it updates, nonsensically, but it changes also the condition, the temperature, and then the image changes too with that. And so I did this for a demo once where you can create like a really slick looking, like very Google-esque like UI that's like, this is what it's pretty much what it's very similar to what would show up if you like literally Googled like what's the weather.
Yeah, I noticed you hot linked the icons. So that's
that was very much to make it easy. Yeah, I'm surprised. I would have SVG. I probably would have been like SVG instead of IMG and just basically.
We're not paying for them.
Yeah. Oh, I found them and I was like, ooh, this is good. I think this is actually the icons that Google search uses, which I hope there's no problem.
They certainly look like it.
I'm like, hey, you threw it on a CDN. You knew what you were asking for.
Those are battle-tested URLs right there. Until they set the refer, we will continue to abuse those URLs.
So
I stuck your Firebase config, by the way, in a
you stuck the Firebase config? Great. Then I don't have to go fetch it. Awesome.
Yes.
Wait, did you? I can't. Where did you? Oh, we put it in config.js.
Config.js. Yeah. I mean, I thought we needed to hide it, but
you don't. You can. It's good to do that when you're like going to do like a dynamic kind of swap of the. Or did you do as Firebase config? Yeah.
Yeah. Firebase config.
Yeah. It's good as like if you have like this dynamic swap where you're like, hey, I might have like a prod or a staging one.
Right.
Then that's fine. But otherwise, I constantly hard code it, and then people are like, "Why don't you do that?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm lazy."
That's my answer for everything.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's start using things so Code Sandbox doesn't hate me. All right, so Firebase thought we're gonna do this sort of like this lazy way right now, and then we're gonna kind of retrofit this into a provider. Okay, so why doesn't it? Oh yeah, so this is a really interesting problem that online editors do because of the way apps get created in memory. When the hot module reload happens, Firebase is like, what's happening?
Wait, I think I might have to fix this.
Whoa, what is this? Hey, Arjun. Thanks for joining the chat. It's good to see you. I know. Arjun's a buddy of mine. Also, there is a way to fix this easily.
Yeah, good. My thing didn't work.
Yeah, you're like, good. And we can fix this inside the hook. That's a hook, or and the provider as well. So basically, what you can do is so let's change to let. What is your opinions on constant lit, Jason?
I have been slowly beaten into submission, and I now use const where I can. Although for the majority of my life, back when I was a youth, In the womb, I was a let user.
I like to do things that will upset people as I program with them. It just gets boring. So they'll be like, always prefer const over let when applicable. And I'm like, okay. And I use let, and everyone's like, what are you doing?
Heresy.
The optimizations you are missing out on. But basically what we can do here is we can say, I'm like, back to seriousness. We have this Firebase apps array, and I'm going to be really lazy in here. Well, if you would say,
delete it.
You would say var possible app. Wish we had some like Ruby S code or like Swift, or it could be like possible app. I like that construct in the language.
Nice. Maybe app.
Which we could technically do in the Chrome 80. But so you'd say if possible. Oh, I'm using vars. I'm really making people angry.
I made that change.
Oh, you made that change. Okay, let's just keep it.
That was my joke.
Oh. I didn't even pick up that you actually did it though. Everyone must be like, what is going on right now? This is the first time I've ever co-streamed with anyone, and so I'm just like, so James Daniels, their Firebaser in there, he's like, use var. So if there's a possible app, if there's not the possible app, we can do app. I guess it's var, so we do whatever we want to do. We would say, we'd say app. We do that. So if there's not an app, it's weird. Whenever I live stream, the simplest coding tasks, my brain can't do them. Like I'm like, full hacker mode when I'm like by myself, and then I get to live stream and I'm like, what's an if statement? Just not app equals Firebase dot initialize app, and then we'll put in the Firebase config. So now it won't yell. And this is a really sloppy way of doing it. You would tend to do something like, I guess I could do it. You could say stop find, and then say app.name.
Right.
And you would, and then so every, if you don't name it, it gets this string right here. And
this is still better than what I would do.
Yeah. But this is effectively what you can do inside of a provider. And this is what we do in a lot of the framework ones. So it just makes it easier. Okay, so now we have an app. Let's log this puppy to the console. And let's see, what does the console have to say? Yes, so this is cool. So this is a Firebase app. You see we got the name of default. And I wonder if it'll show me inside here. Yes, there's no, so you can see there's pretty much no services on here. So to get services, we do these naked imports. Let's see here, Firebase slash, I guess let's start with Firestore. And now is Firestore. I wonder if I can't see into the, here it is. All right, sweet. Or actually, no, this is.
Is that in container or something else?
So they've redone a lot of the app logic lately to cut down on size for it. It's like 4 kilobytes now or something like that. And it used to be like 16. And so they've done like awesome work on it. I just can't remember anymore how it's set up. I believe though I thought it was off the prototype where you would see the thing, and I don't know if this is showing that. This is the constructor, not the prototype. I don't know if you have that.
Which one are we looking for? We're looking for Firestore?
Yes. But
I see Firestore on container.providers.
But I see everything.
Same.
Which is not, I wonder if those are service namespaces, which are usually like showing that they're there. And I wonder if there's some weirdness going on because we did do the big export at first.
Let me check here.
Yeah, let's see.
App is a Firebase app impl.
What's it all about? I like that James is, James, you go ahead, take over that chat in the live stream. I can't chat, and it's so hard to chat and and talk. And
oh, so the thing is, it looks like the console, the special like custom console they have on Code Sandbox is not showing the prototype.
that's what I thought.
They do echo everything out to the actual console if you pull it up.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see the prototype there, and it has .firestore. It's just .firestore.
Yeah. All right, I'll trust you. All right, so I'm gonna close out of that because that looked like that was gonna crash my tab.
Yep.
I was like, this is bad. All right, so let's make this into a provider. So function called Firebase app provider. And actually first, providers are a little weird to me because I always think, and all the React people I know, I don't say all, some of them are like, yeah, no, you're right. A lot of people disagree though, as I say providers, context is basically like root scope and AngularJS. And some people are like, I could see how you'd say that. And some people are like, that is offensive. Please never say that to me again.
It's much more like scope than root scope.
Right. Yeah. People are like, it's not how it works. But I find that I always get very confused with just the way I create context. I think hooks have made that a lot easier. Actually, it's like one of the few things that hooks makes easier right out of the bat. Like I think hooks in general, like I'm not gonna hate on hooks. I very much like hooks. I think hooks is just like a new way of thinking, but with context, that was one of the immediate ones where I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yep. That's much easier than a higher order component or something like that. So what I do, is it create context? Yes.
Yep.
Great name. And then const.
I never know what to call this. I use random capitalization. Each new time I use this method, I alternate capitalizing it, title case, state case even.
When you write in all caps, even in variable names, do you kind of like scream in your head as you do it? So you're like, fire.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I think it's pretty much required.
It's an important variable. That's why it's capitalized. A proper variable.
I feel like the amount of things that I have, because I've had in code reviews where people are like, why do you capitalize everything for these const ones? And I'm like, oh, because these are constants. And they're like, and I'm like, and when I was in school, if I didn't do it, I would lose points on my homework.
Yeah, you were much less likely to be penalized for capitalizing in the wrong place than you were not capitalizing. I
had a class where I could fail an assignment by simply just using wrong style. Like it'd be like, I know it works, but your comments went beyond the line, like whatever, column 80, and this, blah, 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 and your naming was this, and that. So you actually got a -7, but it worked.
For code?
Oh yeah, and I had a teacher who was just really, I guess in a way he was correct, because he was like, there are style guides when you get into the real world, and you're gonna have to abide by these principles, and you're gonna be spending all this time in code reviews, and people are gonna be angry at you because you didn't follow the system. And then now I would like to ask his thoughts on Prettier.
Yeah.
They're like, can we just use Prettier in this class?
Now that our jobs are automated.
I know. All right, so create context, and we'll start with null or undefined. I guess if you don't pass this in, I guess it comes as undefined, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So the way this one works is we want to get props from here, which
I'll stop drawing.
I was kind of enjoying it. The ASCII art from everyone. So I always get really bummed. I'm going to finish this and then I'll go off my top. All right, so I can't stop myself. I really can't. All right, so we're going to have Firebase config come into here. And then how many minutes are we even in? We're like 25 minutes in, and I'm like, all right, let's initialize Firebase. So Firebase config, and so that's going to get passed in. And so what I want to do is pretty much say, all right, you need to create an app. And one thing that we do, and this is a good place to get your thoughts on this, we use Memo.
Yep.
And that's like, because I got to do it. Wait, is that from Preact?
It's just because it's unused. Picky
okay.
big.
All right, cool. So we'd say use const. What is it? Actually, I'd use this let or var Firebase app equals, and I always forget use memo. Use memo is synchronous, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I do so many asynchronous callbacks that whenever I see a synchronous callback, I'm like, is that possible? Well, you can do things synchronously? That's weird. And then we will take a lot of this logic inside of here, and we would say, okay, why doesn't it? What's its problems with me? Does nothing. Oh yeah, it's trying to be really smart about it. So let's. This is where this is like where you say, hey, this is what you. Let's see here. The React hook has an unnecessary.
Because you haven't used it in there yet.
Oh wow!
These are some draconian lint rules. I tell you that.
I know. I was like, this is very smart. Let's see here. Our app equals find the app, and then if not, what am I doing? I wrote all this code up here. And always copy and paste where we can. Is this gonna? What is it? Not like unexpected token.
It's probably just catching up.
Yeah.
Oh, you got varvar.
Oh, varvar. That's not a thing. Varvar.
It's not varvar.
All right, so then that is good. And what we need to do now is return the, am I still in use memo? I'm still in use memo. And what I want to do now is return the Firebase app context provider.
Right.
John Connor is coming out. Provider. Because context or you can do it like that.
Indeed.
Oh, what's the difference between just doing it this component way then?
Which?
Like
you get so. Hold on.
Wait. Oh, I know. Okay. Yes. Thank you. No, I got confused with the naming. You're right. Yes, that is exactly how you do it.
It also auto suggested the name that was less similar, which makes me wonder what Code Sandbox's default locality setting is for auto suggest. Tangent.
All right. And what is it yelling at you for?
So provider needs kids.
Oh, it needs to be Pascal case. Wow. All right.
Oh, really? Is that?
All right. Let me just do this. Let's do Firebase app context. There we go. Now this looks more palatable to people. Oh, yes. I forgot to put children in there. Don't forget the children.
And now the only thing it's complaining about is defined but never used, which I think is reasonable.
Mm-hmm. So let's, what we're using as app, where did that come from? Oh,
as an import
app. So let's just, I'm going to do this all in one file to make this single file. It's not just about single file components anymore. It's about single file applications.
Right.
And that's
single component applications.
Component applications. So that's going to be.
I believe there's whole frameworks that operate on that model. So I shan't poke fun at it, but that does seem like a funny concept.
Let's see here. All right, so Firebase app provider, and then this is going to take in Firebase config, which will be Firebase config, and then.
Oh, we could ditch our custom app thing up here.
Oh, I thought I had deleted that. Yes. All right, so what does, because I'm not, no.
Oh, haha, you fell for the thing that I always fall for. Use memo comes from.
Oh, yes, that's what I was wondering, actually, yeah.
It doesn't help that create context, which seems very similar.
Right, it's not use context.
Indeed, use context does come from hooks. Apologies.
Let's see. single application components. That's not a thing yet. Not by the
This
time
component can only be run in multiple apps at the same time. If you try to use it in one location, it will fail.
No, I don't want to leave. How do I, oh, there we go. I just want to bring the drawer in. Okay, so here we are, Firebase App Provider. We are no better off than we were before. But
we've learned though.
Yes, but this is nice that we can get an app. So let's create like
we need our hook now.
Weather card. I don't know. Call it a weather card, and it's going to return a div of weather. It's beautiful. And so now we'll just do it like this because we need to be inside of the.
Luke, you got the joke. I'm glad about that. Misa Varvar blinks.
Oh, Misa Varvar. I have my kids watch all of the Star Wars, but starting at the OGs to the most recently ended ones, and my son is 7, and so we watched all that, and then we went back to try to watch Phantom Menace, and he was like, "What is this?" He was like, "Can we stop watching this?"
Yeah. And that's when he learned the word utter garbage.
Even my 4-year-old was like, like
we all play with blocks. This sucks.
Yes, kind of what it was like. All right, so what we want to do now is use context. That makes sense though that create context is in Preact because they use context.
Yep. Is weather card going to be where we're going to pass our data? Oh no, wait, no. This is going to be a hook.
Yes. And
I'm hooked.
Use context. But I don't want to be responsible for the context. So what we can do as well is we can create a use one. So to do that, you would say like function use Firebase app.
This is the thing that you're not allowed to call a higher order hook.
Yes.
But realistically, it's a higher order hook.
And then this is where you would say const. I should do some error checking in here, but I'm not. Where you'd say like, what is it? Return use context and then the token Firebase app context.
Yep.
Is token the right word for this, or is my Angular showing?
Might be a little bit Angular-y.
Yeah. Angular is very tokeny. They have like tokens.
Token provider service token?
Yeah. Or like filters. That was like the old school.
I would have started using synonyms. No, you have a billet. You need to exchange that for a ticket. And then you go to the ticket registry service where you can use it to get a token. Once you get the token, I don't know what you do with a token, but once you've got it, you've got it.
Sounds like a horrible code review.
Yeah. Just line the gorillas up in order. Tell them what you want.
We have somehow managed to do something meaningful.
Correctly, star, nothing.
Yeah, this is good. Whenever I do this, we'll keep going, but this almost feels like a George Costanza moment where you're just like, all right, everybody.
We said we were going to render some weather. We rendered some weather.
All right, so now some weather. We changed it. So now we have this. So what I want to do now is get to the point because ideally most people aren't going to be using this hook. This could be helpful for some people. Look at you knowing the character codes. Those are things I always have to look up. I'm always like degree.
I did try 3. And also code sandbox for some reason, option 0 is a degree symbol, but with a underscore. Anyway, sidetracked. Weather.
These are all the life hacks I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So now what we will do, so like as a user wouldn't, you can do this. Sometimes this is helpful. This is like a bit of an escape hatch. Like if the abstraction is not doing what you want to do, you just give me the top level thing and I'll be fine. But this is mostly for the library, makers. So what we want to do now is, since we have imported Firestore, is I want to create a hook called use Firestore collection data. And there's a, and this will take in a ref. And there's a good, this is kind of a long, I would like to get your opinion on this. This is a very long name, but it's very descriptive. And so the reason why, you know, we do this because of, it almost feels like a way I'm namespacing it. But the data means give me the data instead of a snapshot, because when you get data back from Firebase, you either get it back, we will unwrap it for you,
right.
Or you get that raw snapshot that is pretty much like all this metadata, all these helpers and all this other stuff on it. And so a lot of people just end up unwrapping that, and they're like, kind of just get the data back. So that's why, you know, there's the difference between the two.
Yeah, I've seen folks run into issues where like they were using the raw collection object and that was all fine, and then they wanted to like transfer it across threads or whatever, and all of a sudden it's like, no, that's like an object with methods and stuff. Like if what you want is the data, go with the current data. Don't bring the entire property guide with you.
It helps too when your hook returns something that's very serializable.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, just serialization in general, especially when you're trying to do any testing or server rendering. It's just much easier to fake a string than mock an entire object.
Yep.
Okay, so what this would do, and this is where in my little experiment I did, this is where I messed everything up. So the way that I did this is that I'm using use state to also have it so you don't sync it to state. So let's put use state in here. And then this is a const, and we'll have data and set state equals use state. And then inside of an use effect, and this is actually something interesting I didn't fully understand, is so I looked at some big repo out there. I think it's called like React Use or Use React or something like that. And it's like all of the crazy hooks that you could ever possibly imagine.
Yep.
And they have one for use observable. And that's why I wanted to look at it, is because it's not all too different from this. And they use
refs.
They don't use refs for observables. They use layout effect. And that's what I was like. So I literally was like, huh. And I was like, I thought use layout effect is when you are manipulating the DOM. Like if I was like getting something from the DOM in there, like if I had a ref in that case, and I was like ref dot, dot value or whatever. And so I figured that would be where I'd use layout effect. And that, so, and I even went and like looked up like Kent C. Dodds is like the differences between the two. And I'm sitting there reading it to make sure I have it right. And so I just didn't understand why they did it. I'm sure they have a good reason to. I just didn't know why they used layout effect inside of use observable, because it seemed like it was, I don't know, maybe there's something, but
I mean, that seems odd to me, honestly. My reaction was the same as yours. If I recall, I always think of layout effect as the way you described it, but it's actually almost the opposite of that. It's for effects that you want to flush prior to layout, rather than effects that you want to run after there has been a layout.
I see.
I don't know why they would want to use that for updating their subscription. The other place my brain immediately went was like maybe, and I should probably know this, but I don't, maybe it runs during SSR. As far as I'm aware, no hooks run during SSR. But
it could be something with SSR, because they also alias, because it says use isomorphic layout effect. And then I looked, I was like, what the heck is that? I was like, I've never seen that before. And then I went and found it, and then it's just aliased so it can handle either CommonJS or Window.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so what I do in here, and this is where I want to be fully schooled. So this is going to, we have this method called onSnapshot, and then that takes in the snap. And then inside of here, so this is basically like the equivalent of calling subscribe on an observable. And const. Actually, do I really? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. I need the var. You know.
Yeah, I got consistency.
Right here, I can call update snap dot data. Let's do it like this.
And that is the flattened, or not flattened, but like simple data structure.
Yeah. Yes, this is like, yeah, not really caring too much. What is it? Why doesn't, as a missing dependency? Oh, ref. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what, creating a value. What I want to do is return data, I guess, from here. And there's some is loading and stuff we can add later. But this is going to start out as undefined, eventually get populated and be updated. So what we would do here, this is, we'd say const dd equals firebase app.firestore. We could also do a use firestore, but I'm just gonna be lazy right now. And then let's do a, this can be collection. So what is it? The collection is cities. And so the db.collection of cities. And that's our ref. And then we can say const data equals use firestore.
This is going to crash code sandbox.
Yes. Well, I have to do that at least once. All right. Why is it messing this up now? Snap.data is not a function. Oh, I know why. Let's do this with a doc first. I'm setting this up to do a use firestore. Because I have to, I would have to tap into the array of docs.
Get the first document and blah. Yeah. Could you get a serialized version of the whole collection, or is it only per document?
You can do the whole, you can get a serialized version. So what that snapshot will do if it's this is totally frozen. Oh wait, no, can I write? I'm trying to write before it crashes. Yeah, I have 1,176 problems.
I told you it was going to crash code sandbox.
I'm afraid to. I think I have 42 problems now. I'm like hoping it's going to let me do this. But yeah, so like, I'm really wishing I didn't make this mistake right now.
Added a return statement into your
I'm about to
use Firestore.
Let's see here.
We'll see if yours updates.
Jeff says, I think use layout effect might let you get a value from the observable before render to reduce flicker.
Yeah.
That sounds logical.
Especially if they were like, if they were running that layout effect, registering the snapshot listener, and that immediately fired with a value, as some observable implementations do. If that was all able to go synchronously, you could potentially update references that were on their way out to the DOM in flight, which is actually, I mean, it's kind of clever, honestly. You can skip an entire intermediary render that way.
I don't even know if it's letting me refresh.
No, yours is dead. I updated it on mine.
Okay.
It skipped the successful run on my machine that bricked yours.
Nice.
So hopefully when you reload, you get mine with the return statement.
At least it didn't like fully, I didn't have to get into like the tab manager.
Oh, you might. There's probably a zombie process somewhere in there.
I was doing something with like while loops to like show some, like the fact that you could block with while loops as like some tutorial. And then I literally kept bricking my browser over and over again. And I was like, this is why I don't write while loops.
Yeah. And you're like mid explanation of how, oh, we've migrated to multi-process and Chrome is impervious to these, and then it just comes crashing down. Well, sort of. Yeah. To the extent that one would assume is possible.
While loops, man.
You seem to have the updated code.
I think so. It's you're right, Karen.
I was wondering how long it would take you.
All right. I think that the fact that it's airing is very beneficial for us right now. All right, so now we have the doc for Berlin. This use collection data is not defined because we switch it to doc data. And what? Oh, there's a return. in here somewhere for some reason?
Yeah, I put a return in there because that was the loop that crashed you.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. We are good here. Data assigned but never used. Let's console.log the data. I like how a console.log can completely break tree shaking. And you're like, console.log, very heavy module that is unused.
I seem to have disconnected from you.
Oh, are you gone?
Which is weird because I think you're. Hold on. I think because you reconnected, I'll reload.
Oh, from the live stream? You're talking about the live stream? Sorry.
From Code Sandbox. I don't know how. I could see your code on the live stream. Oh, okay. Now that I reloaded.
Okay.
Now that I reloaded, I just have what I have. I think you might be working on a copy.
I probably am.
If I save, it's going to update yours, isn't it?
I think when you go live and you... wait, what's your live code? Is it 31 YYAA, or as I like to say, 31 YA?
I have a different URL.
Okay, see, that's why.
Oh, that is the live code URL though. You're on the right URL.
All right.
Hold on. Maybe if I type something, it will update yours.
Excuse us, folks, while we work through our technical difficulties. Let me go to the chat. We just went for 1413. Someone's like, nope.
Yeah. Try reloading your page. I think it was still you had like a local dirty copy because I had an unsaved edit. We do still have a infinite promise loop in here.
All right, it's looping. My computer is going
spinning
nuts.
This might be the Open Chrome's Task Manager moment for you.
No, I am the only tabs I have going. I have 3 tabs open right now.
Here, switch to my screen for a sec.
Which I think, yeah, switch to yours. Which I think would terrify a lot of people to only have so many few tabs open.
I just fake it. I have like 11 minimized browser windows.
Let's poll the audience. How many tabs do you have open right now? Because I have 3, so I wonder if anyone can beat me.
Total?
3 total tabs. I'm very proud.
I don't even know what that feels like.
Yeah, it's actually it was a New Year's resolution of mine to try to have no more than 7 tabs open at a time.
I don't think I could ever pull that off.
You have to create systems in play because basically tabs are like really loosely organized tasks for a lot of people. Let me promote yours. All right. Add yours, and I'm going to remove. Okay, yours is the one now. You are in charge.
One true. You see how I have my lovely broken version?
Yes.
I actually use like tab collection thingies.
Andrew with 53 tabs open right now. Jeff 28, James 12, Dan has 8.
Gotta check mine.
I don't know if anyone's gonna beat me. I don't think anyone can beat my 3.
How do you check the number of tabs you have open?
Well, for me, it's pretty easy. You just look.
For everyone but you, I mean.
I think there is like I think somewhere if you click onto like
inspect devices,
something like, I don't know. There is a way to see it. I don't know.
Pages.
Oh no, I just found. I found 2 more tabs. Technically, I have 5 open. I'm going to close them right now. All right, now I'm really at 3. 8 alone are pinned. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I'd stop using pin tabs as well.
Ooh. I have 155 across 11 browser windows.
Luke,
DevTools does not count as a tab.
It does not count as a tab. Not at all. You're good there.
They don't have process isolation. They don't have a tab. You can count each ad as a tab. That's a lot of tabs.
At one point, I think this hook I had worked. And I think when I had it as an infinite loop, the thing I saw, I think I didn't have I had the reference as a child or as a dependent, then 61.
So the infinite loop that I think crashed you is we have this. Oh, nice. Yeah, you can see that cursor now. So we have the use effect, which runs every time data changes.
Right.
And every time data changes, it runs the use effect. It runs graph.on snapshot, adds a listener. That listener, when it changes, is going to call set state, which is going to change data.
Right.
Which will then rerun the use effect, register for a snapshot, and on the snapshot will set data. But I think ref that we're passing in is also a new reference each time. It's not memoized by this, right?
You are,
which we can fix this, right? So if we do like we've already got use memo, so we just do like const use. We could probably roll this in later, but we pass that.
I was wondering about that actually, because of each render is going to create a new reference, and is that going to be picked up as a different from the dependency, which will create a new subscription?
Yep.
Right. Okay. I think that's what when I initially did my like homework for this is that's what I kept running into is that I kept seeing so many subscriptions, and then it made me even like question how Firebase worked for a second. I was like, I know, because I was like, wait, are these hot or I think are these too cold? I was like, why does it keep? I was like, my whole world is being shaken, and then I was like,
shaken, not stirred.
I knew you were going to say. And then I realized now that you're saying it, because I had a feeling it had something to do with the dependency array, because I don't think I've ever gotten it right on the first try.
Well, and it implements the minimal surface area, and oftentimes that's not enough, right? If you're dealing with objects, you're pretty much going to get bit by this.
Right.
So in this case, so we've got use memo now. That gives us a ref. I forget. So it was db.collection.
Doc of BER. Burr.
Doc.
Yeah. For Berlin.
Okay.
It's good that you're providing a little safety net in there.
Yeah, you like that? It's good. We're going to eventually hit 100 renders, and that will throw. But for now,
use Firestore collect. Oh, it's because we need to change it to doc data. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. So no.
So we hit it. Yeah, we need.
I kind of like that as.
Hey.
All right. So yeah, it's console log the data.
I got a log.
Console undefined. Hey, that is better than no.
Yeah. So let's see if we're getting into our use effect. We are.
All right. So that's happening. It's calling. Okay, that's happening there. Snappy's happening. So set state's getting called. So why won't it? Yeah.
Data's undefined. So we're actually getting undefined back in the collection.
Oh,
db.collectioncities.doc BER.
So what's? Let me look at the config again. So this is the right.
I can also do this from the console, right? If we had.
Yes, this should be.
So we should be able to do.
Data doesn't need to be in the use effect depth array. Well, thank you, Jeff. Jeff would know that because.
Yes, that is correct. Good catch.
All right, so
that'll avoid the loop.
How do we? So what is going on? Why won't it? So is city spelled correctly?
app.firestore.collection cities.
And then
it's a collection.
And I can see the data in there.
It's there, and then we are calling .data.
Mm-hmm.
But on the snapshot.
Here, do a console.log on in between 38 and 39 of snap.data. Just to see what's coming back.
Boop. Yep, it's there.
Okay, so we got an object. Okay, so that is there.
Use Firestore doc data.
Okay, so
oh, wait a minute. Now I got the. Oh, I wonder if this is hot reloading.
That's actually, yeah, that's what I was wondering. I wanted to make sure that the actual data from the snapshot coming
in.
There's a underline at 50. What is it mad at? I don't know. Everything, Arjun. This is like I actually don't use a lot of linters because I prefer to be
mad about DB.
Shamed after my code doesn't work, not before it doesn't work.
Actually, do we know? Does Firestore always return the same instance?
Yes, it is. It's a singleton.
It's just okay. So app.firestore. Sweet. So that should be fine. It's pre-memoized, just it's a silly ESLint thing. What was in data? There was
data dot. You could do data dot name. We'll give you Berlin. Data dot temperature. We'll give you the one. You get.
And we need
image
undefined.
Not need. Oh yes, yeah.
That's kind of a crap.
You could just do if data. See, actually,
use Firebase app.
One thing that we do in PreactFire is we provide a option we called start with value. And so you can say like, hey, this data is not back yet, so just use this in the meantime.
Oh, just like a stale while revalidate pattern?
Yeah, kind of like that. And also another thing it helps with too is behind the scenes in PreactFire too, we lazy load like Firestore. So you can actually call start with value. And then so if we did it here and like we lazy loaded Firestore, you could basically get it Firestore in a separate chunk, but then continue to render. And then when that starts syncing, then you get that. So you can kind of cut it from the main path, but still use like sort of like a proxy API for it. All right, so that seems
so yeah, it was not broken. I just needed to reload the demo. It's a subscription and we don't clean out the subscription. Does on snapshot return an unsubscribe function I can call?
It does, yes. So you can return unsub and then
is it it's
you can do it like that. Yeah, no, you can actually do it that way. That's just shorthand. The way I was doing it was I'm used to like observables actually containing the unsubscribe method, so you're having to get that in return.
Oh, but yeah, it's function.
Yeah, just a function.
We'll do this. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. What are you doing? Using a const like that.
Okay. So
this should. Why don't we see the weather's name?
Well, we do see Berlin.
Wait, you see? I don't see Berlin. Let me refresh.
Yeah, hold on. Let me take
Oh, I see it on your screen now. I don't see it on
sandbox.config create.
We're good.
Hard reload on change. Okay, I just fixed the config. It should work now.
Okay. Do like data dot condition and data dot temperature, and those will update in real time.
In near real time. Cloudy. Is there image?
Yes. An IMG.
Save those bytes.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want a big bandwidth though.
Oh, we need an alt prop.
I remember though when I went and tried to rebuild undom, and then I remember asking you, being like, "Hey, are you using these short variable names just like and you're like, "No, actually, it's a bad habit."
Yeah, I wrote a lot of bookmarklets back in the day in the address bar. I would think at some point I would have had the wherewithal to put them in an editor, edit them there, and then put them in the address bar. I don't know why I never did that.
Yeah.
I used to use, back when I was a Firefox user, I used to use the bookmarklets, the bookmarks view as a bookmarklets editor.
That's very
really
good.
Annoying. Yeah. Okay, so we fixed our infinite loop.
And we created our hook. This is pretty much, without actual structure, organization. If you want to, all you have to do is copy this, paste it into your app. No.
I'll tell you what I would do.
Yeah, you don't need a package manager.
I would do this.
Oh. What is happening?
So instead of we might use callback. So instead of passing,
oh, hey, Josh Crowther. Josh Crowther says that your whole bookmarklet thing sounded brutal.
That was my life, man.
Trying to.
That was my life. Okay, so instead of what we were doing, which is we have to get a reference to Firestore, get a reference to the collection, return doc, we could have used Firestore doc data, pass us DB, and then we just return the document that we want. And we don't even need to give it DB. It doesn't even need a dependencies array at this point.
And, oh, that's really slick. And what's, correct me where I'm wrong, what this will also still work with, because that's a callback, we can still lazy load any SDK behind the scenes and just run those functions when they load.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
So you can do depth here. So like if I was going to use a variable in doc, then I can say that in depth.
That is pretty slick. I like that a lot. We do something similar in AngularFire, where you we actually have an API where you would say you'd create a collection of cities, but you would do it by you would say this dot db dot collection of cities, and then let's say you wanted to run a query, because where you say db dot collection of cities, you can actually do dot where. And so instead of rebuilding the entire query API that Firestore provides for you, which we did initially and realized that was a horrible idea, we just provided this, what we call the query callback. And then so we just give you you give us a string, so we give you the reference that we will eventually create, and then you can do whatever query you want, and we just return from it.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah,
you could
I like
do
that.
all sorts of crazy things in here, though. You could turn this into an async function.
Yep. Yeah, so that seems like a decent way to go. You and I had talked about other loading patterns, which I think would be like a fun next step for this.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So like right now we just return data, and obviously because of all these crappy guard operators I had to put in here, we can see that it's undefined by default.
Yeah, I think that having the loading, the extra like doing it from the array, like having your typical hook array style syntax and being like data, loading, error, stuff like that. Yeah. And what we can also, and then even with loading, if you're going to do it asynchronously like that, then you can start getting into actually offloading the SDK with like dynamic import.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, Arjun not using linters reminds me of Carmelo Anthony's time with the Nuggets. No passing to the next player. See, I don't know if you're familiar with basketball.
No, I'm not.
But I am, and the Denver Nuggets are my team, so I get that. Very much get that. But all right, well, it sounds like this is a good place to end it. I think next time, let's just try to do the loading patterns, and I feel like that was pretty successful for having no idea what we were going to do beforehand. Like I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, we made a thing.
We made a thing.
Show some weather.
Cool. All right. Well, everybody, thank you all. We'll post whatever time we do it next week, and we'll see you in the next episode of Jason and David do a thing.
Do stuff.
Do stuff. And talk about stuff good too. All right. See y'all later.